Yes, nice. Yes.
Okay. So today we shall be first dealing with identifying the jellyfish and its invenomation. As Dr. Vivekanshu has told that today's International Yoga Day, 21st June, is observed as International Yoga Day, and our hot topic of discussion, that is the jellyfish, is also flexible enough to move in the ocean currents as well as to adjust to the adversities of the environment. Plus today also there is a Hindu festival that is known as Gayatri Jayanti. So Gayatri Mata is also known as Ved Mata, right? She is the mother of all the four Vedas mentioned in the Hindu literature or Hindu scripture. So may Goddess Gayatri bless us and enlighten us with knowledge. So with that note, I am starting my presentation. So first of all, jellyfish. So jellyfish is a marine creature which is brainless, heartless, spineless, transparent, beautiful and immortal. And it can also flip inside out. It is quite flexible. Just as yoga makes our body flexible, jellyfish does its own yoga and is flexible too. So the jellyfish, adult jellyfish, is saying to her kids that stop flipping your bro inside out. Now, jellyfish, they are actually not fish. So a person is amazed at the fact that jellyfish aren't technically fish. They aren't technically jelly either. Oh, everything I know is a lie. So what I have made a mnemonic is not all jellies are made up of sugar and gelatin. Some are made up of 95% water. So when our team has gone through the laws related to animals, we have actually tried to explore whether jellyfish is legally classified as a fish or not. So we have got some content by doing a small research, and that's what I'm presenting here in next few slides, that zoologically fish is a vertebrate. It has got a vertebral column, it has got a spine, and a cold-blooded animal with gills and fins, living wholly in water, while invertebrates like jellyfish, an invertebrate animal living wholly in water. Example, cuttlefish or shellfish, jellyfish, they are not fishes. But as per the law, means the section 2B of the Maritime Zones of India, Regulation of Fishing by Foreign Vessels Act 1981, also defines fish, which is as under: fish means any aquatic animal, whether piscine or not, and includes shellfish, jellyfish, crustacean, mollusk, turtle, and aquatic mammals, holothurians, coelentrates, then seaweed, corals, and any other aquatic life. Normally, in common parlance, animal is usually understood as a quadruped creature, right, which moves on four legs. But fish is also an animal, but it is of different kind. It is included in definition of fish as given in the Maritime Zones of India Act, and has all the essential attributes of a living animal like life, sensation, and voluntary motion. It is therefore not possible to accept the contention that it is not a livestock. The state government is thus fully competent to issue a notification under Section 3 of the Act. Now, whether dry fish is considered as a livestock or not. So here is a case reference, Sri Lakshmi Dry Fish Traders versus State of Andhra Pradesh, 1986. So here Andhra Pradesh High Court had held that even if fish is considered to be an animal, dry fish cannot fall within the sweep of the definition of livestock, and therefore dry fish could not be included in Schedule 2 thereof. Then whether prawns, shellfish or jellyfish with or without life can be treated as livestock or not. So the case turned on the interpretation of Rule 5 of AP General Sales Tax 1957, which used the expression livestock. That is to say, all domestic animals such as oxen, bulls, cows, goats, sheep, buffaloes, horses, etc., etc. So prawns, shellfish, and jellyfish, with or without life, cannot be treated as livestock, right? So our topic of interest, jellyfish with or without life, is not treated as a livestock. Now, locked in life like a jellyfish. Now, the deceased was immobilized at the tender age of 11, right? There is a Bombay High Court, Kumar Mohammad Rafiq case reference on 14th August 1985, right? So the deceased was immobilized at the tender age of 11 by the roadside trauma and was almost living the life of a jellyfish for as many as 7 years. He had become blind and lost the benefit of all normal life, right? And he had to undergo as many as 9 operations. The first 5 during a period of barely 10 months, means within a very short period, he has to go through 5 operations. In the next 4 during the period of 3 months, means within 13 months, he had to undergo 9 surgeries. There is therefore no doubt that the deceased had to undergo a good deal of pain and suffering during his tender age from 11 to 18 years. So he was suffering continuously. Now, he was therefore entitled to be compensated for the said pain, shock, and suffering. In the result, court allowed the appeal and direct that a sum of rupees 35,486 plus the amount of rupees 12,500 to be paid to the appellant, claimant number 1. So this was the Bombay High Court's decision. Now, these jellyfish, they are amongst the oldest multi-organ creatures that have existed for over 500 million years, right? And the jellyfish is describing that, wow, 500 million years and my see-through nightgown is still in vogue, because the jellyfishes, they have got a transparent nature, right? They look transparent and have a transparent nature. They love transparency between the two. And this transparency, it is useful to camouflage from its predators, to become invisible in dark due to its transparent body. Now, this is the taxonomic classification, right? So it belongs to phylum Cnidaria or natal animals, which is further classified into 5 classes, namely Anthozoa. Anthozoa class includes corals and sea anemones, as you could see in the picture. Scyphozoa or swimming jellyfish. This is true jellyfish which swims freely in ocean water. Then Staurozoa or stalked jellyfish, the polypoid form, the stalked polyp, which is immobile. Then Cubozoa, the celebrity of our presentation, the chief guest of this presentation of this session, the box jellyfish. Then the next class is Hydrozoa. Hydrozoa, which includes hydrozoids and cephalopods, which are a cluster of organisms like our Portuguese men of war and blue bottles. We'll have a word about them at a later stage. Now, this class Cubozoa, right, which includes our most dangerous Australian box jellyfish, it is further subclassified into 2 orders, Charybdida and Chedropida. Now, this Chedropida is further classified into 2 families, that is Chiropsidae and Chiropsalmidae. Now, this Chiropsidae family, it's further classified into 2 genuses, right? That is Chironex and Chiropsalmus. So basically, we have to differentiate whether the jellyfish belongs to Chironex or Chiropsalmus. And Chiropsalmus has got one species, which is Chiropsalmus quadrumanus, and Chironex is Chironex fleckeri, are dangerous Australian box jellyfish, which is commonly found in the Indo-Pacific region and Northern Australia coastal regions. Now, this is the anatomy, right? I'll go through it a quick faster because we all know already know the anatomy. So this part is known as bell or box of the jellyfish, and this part is medusa. This is the medusa having tentacles, right? This bell, it contains manubrium, a stalk-like structure, right, which hangs from the bell, and these are the gonads. This is the gastric filament, right? And this manubrium also contains a mouth, which also acts as an anus at its tip. And these are the pedalia, and these are the tentacles, the stinging part of the jellyfish, which is used for defense and for catching the prey. These has got cridocytes and thousands of cridocytes and millions of stingers, that is nematocysts. And this is the cross section of this box jellyfish. You could see this layer, hollow structure consisting of mass of transparent jelly-like matter, which is known as mesoglea, which forms the hydrostatic skeleton of the animal. And 95% of this mesoglea, it consists of water, but 5% is collagen and other fibrous proteins. And this is what is known as rupellium. Rupellium, it is a rudimentary, it is a structure that contains rudimentary sensory organs, right, which help jellyfish sense dangers, light, sound, noise, etc. Right? So the rupellial ganglia, they also contain a pacemaker neurons, which control the swimming rate and direction of our jellyfish. Now, this is the anatomy of Scyphozoa or a true jellyfish. So the epidermis, as you could see in the previous slide, the ectoderm, it contains a loose network of nerves. It is called nerve net. It does not have a central nervous system or brain, though it has got nerve net, a large and a small nerve net distributed in the epidermis, which detects stimuli, transmits impulses both through the nerve net and around the circular nerve ring to other nerve cells, right? And this mouth, the mouth that is seen here, it opens into the gastrovascular cavity where digestion takes place and nutrients are also absorbed. Now, so jellyfish, they have an incomplete digestive system. They do not have intestines or liver or pancreas as other mammals possess, that is important for digestion, right? So the absence of these organs means that the same orifice is used for both intake of food and for excretion. So jellyfish, they eat and poop out of the same hole, and that is gross. Means zooplanktons are taken through the same hole and it excretes waste through the same. Now, a word about the immortal jellyfish. As in the previous second or third slide, I have said immortal. So a species that is Turritopsis nutricula or Turritopsis dormi, right? It can revert back to their immature state over and over again, right? A dying medusa can become an encysted planula and a polyp, and again an adult medusaur. Now, in perfect conditions and without any predators, the immortal jellyfish is the only known animal on this earth that could actually live forever, right? But this phenomena, as it is mentioned in the literature, could only be seen in the lab. Despite the potential to be biologically immortal, they sometimes starve in polyp form because they could not get food, or eaten by some predators, right? Because they have got a lot of enemies in the ocean, particularly the sea turtles and the large sharks. See, so this life cycle, it includes ontogeny reversal. It has got a reverse cycle, means if the medusa is dying, it will again go to undifferentiated stage, which becomes a polyp, and again the adult medusa. So this is ontogeny reversal. So, but immortality is related, absolute. It is subjected to market risk. Here you could see the jellyfish is bragging about its immortality, like, dude, I have found out that I'm one of those species of immortal jellyfish. And suddenly a shark came and took hold of this jellyfish and have consumed it. So immortality is relative. Now, also jellyfish being immortal is a myth, right? So because toxicity creates the risk of dying, and from its venom, life prolonging medications are researched. So they are killed for that purpose too, though they say there can be only one, I am the immortal. But in true sense, in the very true sense, the jellyfish being immortal is a myth nowadays. Now, this is an interesting fact that, as I have found out, that over 60,000 jellyfishes have been in space. So in 1991, what happened? Over 2,000 jelly polyps, they were blasted into space to test how they react to lack of gravity in the space. And to the surprise, they reproduced in the space, creating over 60,000 copies of them. But the space-bred jellyfish, when they were brought back to Earth, they don't know how to cope up to the gravity. They were unable to function properly here. They could not adjust with the conditions, gravitational forces of the Earth. So that is an interesting fact. Now, a cousin of jellyfish, right, which is not a true jellyfish, is a Portuguese man of war. And because of its very, very painful sting, they are known as floating terrors. The scientific name being Physalia physalis, right? So when Vasco da Gama reaches Indian soil and bragging about his achievement, this man of war is telling Vasco da Gama that, welcome here, chicken head. Now, before you go around calling yourself the first Portuguese on the Indian soil, let me tell you that we have been here for 160 million years. Now he's telling this Portuguese man of war, it is telling Vasco da Gama that I am older than you and I am the first Portuguese to be here. So it is a siphonospore. So what is a siphonospore? It is a bizarre group of animals, right, that consist of colonies of dozens, hundreds, or thousands of genetically individual creatures, genetically identical individual creatures, which are known as polyps or zooids. Each perform a specific function and they are interdependent on each other. So as you could see here, this is the crest, this is pneumatophore, which is a gas-filled polyp. These are gonozoids for reproduction and gastrozoids for digestion. Dactylozoids polyp for locating and catching prey, which is very important, otherwise it would starve, and coiled stinging tentacles for disabling the prey and for defense mechanism. So this is the animation of Portuguese men of war, and it is actually four animals in a very close progressive relationship, and they are talking to each other that, can we move date nights to Tuesdays? I want to discuss boundaries again. Loving this communication, guys. I feel so validated right now because it is actually a bunch of a number of animals who are living together in a commensal relationship. Now, this is a closer cousin of our man of war. It is known as blue bottle, Physalia urticulus, or Indo-Pacific man of war, right? It is almost similar to Portuguese man of war, but it has got a bluish hue or bluish tint, a single tentacle, and it is smaller as compared to Portuguese one and less venomous, right? Stings have yet to cause any human fatalities, but still causes pain and swelling. So it is a closer cousin. Now, this is the celebrity, the showstopper model of our presentation, our box jellyfish. right? They are so named because their bodies are box or cube shaped rather than the bell shaped body of other jellyfishes. These are special because unlike others, they are capable of vision, right? They have 24 eyes, means eyes all around. And they have complex eyes, complete with retina and cornea. So compared to others, their vision allows them more maneuverability. They can swim around the things. If you are washed up on the shore, some can even recognize each other by sex, which helps them in mating and reproduction. So Kiro in Greek, it is a Greek word meaning hand, and nex in Latin means murder or slaughter. So Chironex fleckeri means a murderer's hand. So it almost kills you if you comes in contact with its hands or tentacles with deadly stinging cells. Now, you can see in this animation that it has 24 eyes and 4 image processing areas called Rhopelia. This makes it one of the few creatures who have 360-degree vision. So you can't escape this one, right? If you provoke it, it won't leave you. That's why you'll only find panoramic photos on my Instagram. Now, this Chironex fleckeri are Australian box jellyfish, right? It has dozens of tentacles, each up to 5 feet long, with enough toxin to kill 60 adult people. And the sting of this box, it can kill a person in less than 3 minutes. In 2 to 3 minutes, the person may die of sudden cardiac arrest. And species of jellyfish in Hawaii, Florida, and other US locations are known to induce heart failure. That's why it is known as sea wasp. This Australian box jellyfish or Chironex fleckeri is known as sea wasp. Stings are very painful, dangerous, and many a times fatal. Not sometimes, many a times they are fatal, because during warm weather, during spring and summer, a lot of fatalities occur in the beach goers, those who visit northern Australian beaches. So this is the particular, this area, this purple area is the particular habitat, right? It is around Thailand, some part of China, Philippines, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and northern and eastern Australian beaches, right? These are the hotspot for this box jellyfish. Now this is the life cycle. Right, so adult medusa, in 3 days, it becomes planula larva in 4 to 5 days, primary polyp in 5 to 8 days, primary polyp with budding, right? In 3 days, it goes to secondary polyp stage, right? In next 30 to 60 days, adult polyp and a free floating cyst that is known as planula. And then it becomes an adult polyp by metamorphosis. In 7 days, it becomes a young medusa, right, with small tentacles and small bell. And within few days, it grows into adult medusae. So this is how it goes, the life cycle of this jellyfish. Now, how would you identify the dangerous species of the jellyfish? That is, we have studies the 2 orders, that is Chironex fleckeri, are Australian box jellyfish, and Chiropselmus. So we have to look for 3 major points. Is it wider than 10 centimeter across the bell, right? If it appears wider, means because Chironex, it grows up to 30 centimeter across the bell. So if it is wider than 10 centimeter, it is probably Chironex. And Chiropselmus, it grows up to 10 centimeter. If it is narrower than 10 centimeter, then you have to check the tentacles. So when we talk of tentacles, whether they are flat like fettuccine or round like spaghetti, we all have seen spaghetti. So Chironex, it has flat tentacles like fettuccine, right? They are not rounded, they are flat with up to 15 tentacles per corner, because it is box shaped. So at each corner of its cube or box, you may find up to 15 tentacles, means a number of tentacles. At least you can have 60 tentacles. Now, Chiropselmus has thinner, rounded tentacles like spaghetti, right? With up to 9 tentacles per corner. So it has lesser number of tentacles and those are thinner and rounder, right? The next thing that we have to see, does it have a spike in its pedalial or foot canal? So Chironex has a spike, while Chiropsalmus has no spike, just a rounded pedalial canal, right? So we have to look for the things here. If bell is wider, then it is Chironex. If it is not narrower, you look for tentacles, right? If tentacles are flat and numbers are more, then it is probably Chironex. And you have to see the pedalial canal. If it has spike, it is probably Chironex. So if it is Chironex in all possibilities, it is a very severe murderer. So stay away from it. And this is the next chief guest of our presentation, or guest of honor, after the Australian box jellyfish. This is Carukia barnesi, or the Irukandji jellyfish, right? So this is a very, very small jellyfish. It grows maximum up to 2 to 3 centimeters, right? You could see it in a vial, in a very small vial. It is placed in a very small vial because it is very small. So this is the map. This is how mapping of jellyfish stings is done. The red ones are verified. They show verified increase, particularly in springs and summers. And yellow ones or the orange ones, they are presumed jellyfish stings, could be something. And no change are the green ones, and decrease in the number of jelly stings are the blue ones, right? Due to decrease in the population of the jellyfishes. So this area, the Indo-Pacific area, is particularly vulnerable. Now, sting bite. This is a picture of sting by Irukandji jellyfish. Though you may not get such type of sting, even the sting is hardly visible when it is caused by this Irukandji or Carukia barnesi. So the smallest jellyfish in the world, though it is smallest, is capable of delivering a sting 100 times as potent as that of cobra and 1,000 times stronger than a tarantula. So it is very, very poisonous and quick in action. Now, what is Irukandji syndrome? Though syndromes and clinical signs and symptoms would be taken by Dr. Chidrupi at a later stage, but I can describe in very brief. The initial sting is usually not felt, and there is a short delay. There is a short delay in the onset of symptoms. So local signs such as red welts, particular red welts or dermal markings, they are either minimal or maybe absent, right? Then multiple systemic syndromes may develop in maybe 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 120 minutes after the sting. So these will include sense of impending doom. The person feels in so much agony that he or she may feel like dying, that he or she may die any moment. Agitation, dysphoria, right? Then vomiting, nausea and vomiting, generalized sweating, and severe pain in back, limbs and abdomen. Severe muscular pain is felt. Then hypertension and tachycardia are common. So pheochromocytoma, a tumor of adrenal medulla, it simulates the symptomatology of pheochromocytoma, right? So these symptoms, they usually settle within 12 hours if the envenomation is less. If it is a severe envenomation, it will manifest within 4 hours with ongoing significant opioid requirement, but it will cause very severe pain. And these patients are at risk of developing toxic cardiomyopathy, cardiogenic shock, and pulmonary edema. And some may even require intubation and mechanical ventilation, right? In few patients, intracerebral hemorrhage may be seen within 3 to 4 hours of sting, presumably due to uncontrolled hypertension. Now, this jellyfish, whose sting will leave you with impending sense of doom and suicidal thought that may last for 2 weeks, right? The victim is so sure that they are going to die. They urge doctor, they request doctor to kill them because they can't take that pain, that agony anymore. So they request their treating physicians to kill them, to get rid of this pain and agony. Now comes to the sizes. So the Irukandji jellyfish is smallest, but it is deadliest. and it grows to 2.5 centimeter in diameter. But the nature has made a mechanism. The deadlier you are, the weaker you become, and you are prone to death. So though they are very deadly, they are very weak and can die just from a small impact. And the lion's mane jellyfish is largest known jellyfish in the world. The biggest recorded lion's mane was 7 feet, 6 inches in diameter, and tentacles were 120 feet long. So there was a joke that it could even play basketball with such long tentacles, but it is really bad at playing basketball, right? Their stings are considered not that fatal, but we have got an interesting story about it. So before that, an animation, right? Because sizes vary from extremes, right? From a very small, that is 2.5 centimeter, to such a large size. So they are talking to each other, the smallest and the largest one. Hey, aren't you the most venomous jellyfish in the world? I'm a big fan. Thanks on, I love tall blondes too. So with that, we'll go to this interesting story. It is one of the 56 Sherlock Holmes short stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Adventure of Lion's Mane, right? And it is notable for being narrated by Holmes himself, not by Dr. Watson like other stories. So Dr. Watson does not appear in the story. It is narrated by Holmes. And it was first published in the Liberty magazine on November 1926, and one of the 12 short stories in the cycle collected as the Case Book of Sherlock Holmes. So this is something interesting. So what happens? Holmes, he was enjoying his retirement in Sussex when one day at the beach, he met Stockhurst, his friend, a close friend, and this Stockhurst, he used to run a preparatory school, right, where he has appointed a number of his friends to teach various subjects. Now, suddenly when they met, they saw Stockhurst science master, right? This, his name was F. Macpherson. They have seen Macpherson, who staggered up to them, who came to them staggering, obviously in an agonal state, and wearing only an overcoat and trousers, right? Then he collapsed, managing to say something. He was murmuring something, a lion's mane, and then he died. When they observed, he was found to have red welts all over his back. And it looked like as if it has been administered by a flexible weapon of some kind, right? For the marks, they were curved over his shoulder and around his ribs, rib cage. So Ian Murdoch, he was a short-tempered man. He was a friend of Macpherson who died and mathematics teacher at the prep school. He suddenly showed up, right, in the story, and he also used to visit Miss Bellamy, a girl, or her home, who was the love interest of this deceased Macpherson. And Miss Bellamy's father and brother, they did not approve of her affair with Macpherson. Her brother and father, they did not like Macpherson somehow. So this guy, Murdoch, he used to visit her home. Now, Holmes began his inquiry considering Murdoch and father and brother of Miss Bellamy as prime suspects, right? Because Murdoch being short-tempered and visiting the love interest of his friend, and father and brother who were also very finicky, and they used to dislike Macpherson because he was dating with their daughter and sister. Now, a further mystifying clue presented itself when Macpherson's dog was found dead at the very pool where Macpherson met his end, right? At that poolside only, Macpherson's dog was found dead. It obviously died in agony as much as his master did, right? Now, at this stage, what happened? Holmes began to suspect something else. The dead man's words, lion's mane, it triggered a memory, but he could not quite call it back to the mind. When Holmes was about to leave from the pond side, he was standing at the pond side looking at the dog, and when he was about to leave, he also saw Murdoch in the same agonal state as Macpherson, with same wounds, red walls on him, that Macpherson had. Now, some brandy though makes him feel much better and he does not die, though he could be saved, right? Now, at the same bathing pond, Holmes spotted the murderer. It was a giant lion's mane jellyfish, Cynia capillata, a deadly creature about which Holmes has read. So Holmes immediately took a rock and killed it. So hence the murder mystery of Macpherson was solved. The murderer, the perpetrator of the murder was the jellyfish lion's mane. So this was an interesting story of Sherlock Holmes written by Sir Conan Doyle. Now, how do jellyfishes behave? They have sting cells and nematocysts to capture prey or for defense. While most jellyfish are harmless, right? The stings of some may cause adverse reaction. And one of the myths is that when you go to seaside, they chase you. No, they never chase humans. Their stings are always accidental when you accidentally step over them or comes in contact with them while swimming. It is usually during spring or summer. So it is saying that, remember, I am spineless only in anatomy, not in character. I won't sting you until and unless I am being provoked by you. So it's their defense mechanism to deal with the danger being sensed. Now, jellyfish, they practice what is known as vertical migration. That is, they arise from depth of the ocean to the surface in large aggregations, and this is known as jellyfish bloom. So it bloom in the spring, reproduce in the summer, and die off in the fall, right? And Irukandji species, they undergo seasonal migration, right? And most of the time, what they do is seeking food, escaping predators, or finding a mate. Just that. Some even set a trap. The intelligence one, they set a trap with their tentacles that is arranged in spiral pattern, right, for their prey. And others, they simply swim or drift along, right? They go with the flow, dragging their tentacles behind them like a trawler net. So some go with the flow, while others, they actively swim like our box jellyfish. So jellyfish bloom are a common event, right? And it is affected by several factors like abundance of food. If there is abundance of food, they bloom in ocean currents, in nutrient richness, or even climate change, right? So you could see another, they have a happy hours. If they have abundance of food or mating season or springs, then that is their happy hour. So they bloom in a large number. As we reach pubs or restaurants during the happy hours, they also bloom in the happy hours. So beach goers, they try to avoid the bloom or the swarm of the jellyfish. Oh, it is in classical music again. So we should move out from the beach. Now, about the jellyfish sting, this occurs by nematocyst discharge process, right? Just a second. Now, these, as it is shown in the picture, the tentacles, right? Tentacles, they have got cells which are known as cridocyst, right? Cridocyst, they store a large concentration of calcium ions which are released from the capsule into the cytoplasm of the cridocyte when the trigger is activated, right? This causes a large concentration gradient of calcium across the cridocyte plasma membrane. So what happens? The resulting osmotic pressure causes a rapid influx of water into the cell. This increase in the water volume in the cytoplasm forces the coiled cridae, this coiled cridae tubule to eject rapidly. You could see the coiled thread kept inside due to changes in the osmotic gradient and ion concentration. It is ejected out, and this happens when it comes in contact with the skin, right? And a physiochemical reaction occurs, right, due to skin contact, physical contact, and due to chemical substances like peptides, amino acids, nucleotides present over the skin surface. So this is how it happens, right? You could see a cridoblast with a nucleus and with a nematocyst kept inside. It has got a hinged, a lid-like operculum with blades and coiled thread kept inside, right? Once a contact occurs, this hinged operculum opens, blades protrude, and a barb-like harpoon comes out. And this occurs within 10 microseconds. All this process of discharge of nematocyst due to change in ionic concentration and osmotic gradient, it occurs in 10 microseconds, average velocity being 40,000 gravitational force equivalent, right? With this velocity and in this short time, it hits its target, right? It suddenly pierces the target and the venom is released. So it is that quick that you can't even imagine. Now, about the composition of the toxin. So man at the bar, the bartender is asking, "Evening, gents, what's your poison?" So the jellyfish replies, now, phospholipase A2, which is found in the toxin type, phospholipase A2 found in cubozoa, scyphozoa, anthozoa, and hydrozoa. Metalloproteinases found in cubozoa and scyphozoa are topics of interest. So they are enzymes which are cytolytic, hemolytic, used for predigestion. Then cytotoxic, they cause cellular necrosis, cytolytic, and causes local tissue damage by cellulitis and apoptosis. Now, actinoporins or actinoporin-like proteins, right? Porin-like proteins. These are much dangerous. What happens? They punch or they puncture the red blood cells and causes release of potassium in the blood, resulting in hyperkalemia and sudden cardiac arrest, right? So these are the ones which are cytolytic, hemolytic, and responsible for cardiovascular and respiratory arrest, right? So jellyfish toxins which are isolated from jellyfish are Chironex, from Chironex fleckeri, particularly CFTX1 and CFTX2, right? Isolated from cubozoa, they are hemolytic, cardiotoxic, cytolytic, myotoxic, and causes cutaneous inflammation. So these are the important toxins that we need to know. It is CFTX1 and CFTX2. Now, this is the schematic representation of the immunological and toxic responses to nematocyst penetration of the skin, right? So what happens? Thousands of nematocyst tubules, they covered with mineralized chitinous spines. They perforate and they are left embedded in the skin, right? So what happens? Rapid or sustained release of venom into the skin occurs. So specific venom porins, porin proteins that lead to hyperkalemia, peptides, lipids, and small molecules, they activate keratinocytes, dermal mast cells, and nociceptors in the skin. And these venom activated, you could see the venom activated mast cell in the diagram. This one, mast cell. So there is degranulation of this mast cell. It will release cytokines, chemokines, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, and vasoactins. So these vasoactins will act over the capillaries, causing their vasodilatation, which further enhances the inflammation, right? Then this venom, it acts on dendritic cells, T cells, macrophages. Again, there is release of cytokines, chemokines, and inflammatory mediators, ultimately resulting in inflammation, right? So the sting, it shows a particularly triple response of inflammation. Now, these are the external findings of jellyfish sting, as you could see. This resembles our contusions much, right? But here you could see it is a wheel and flare reaction. You could see these blisters at the margin. You could clearly see the blisters. right? So it is not an injury, it is an inflammatory response to the toxin because it is an organic irritant poison that is secreted by nematocyst. See, here you could see over the foot, left foot, and over the right ankle. These are the deeper injuries. This is particular, this is the landmark of box jellyfish, Australian jellyfish, the deep markings, right? Because it has got a very potent venom. Now it resembles, means this boy was beaten by his father with the help of cable, right, for not following his order or not doing something. And this is a box jellyfish sting. So when a case comes to you for examination, and if he could not give the history, or even if he could give history, he could malinger, right? If he has got a sting from jellyfish, he could malinger and charge, accuse other person that I have been beaten, I was in so much agony because of this person. So there comes the medico-legal aspect. You have to differentiate whether these are jellyfish stings and or it is whipped by cable. This problem is particularly seen in coastal areas, right? One of the important things is coastal areas, right? The person has been brought from an ocean side or from a beach side. That is very, very important. The other things you have to differentiate between an inflammatory reaction and a true injury. So definitive diagnosis could be made by this dermoscopy. Right, so dermoscopy mein you can see this brown spots here, right? Using a dermoscope you can look through the skin. So 0.1 millimeter diameter brown spots, the same lesion in 21 days showing complete disappearance of the brown spots, right? Here you could see Chinese pattern, means brown spot, they are connected by fine lines, right, resembling Chinese letters. So clinical representation, it corresponded with linear vesicles regularly spaced due to contact with the warts, because it is sting by Pelagia noctiluca. So the warts are present over its tentacles. So similar warts are present over the skin, right? So here also you could see brown patches, and these are red dots. And here linear purpura, linear bands, they are composed of red dots by fusion of red dots regularly spaced in a tabby manner, right? This could be seen on dermoscopy, right? And this is serpentine ulceration seen with the when a person comes in contact with jellyfish tentacle, this ulceration is seen, right? And here distinctive circular milky red area, this milky red area is seen on a recurrent persistent inflammatory reaction to jellyfish sting, right? This corresponds to the wart morphology of the jellyfish, right? So these are the lesions, and this is the histopathological finding. Epidermal necrosis with vesicle formation, you could see epidermal necrosis with vesicle formation, and melanin is found dispersed. You could see the black arrows into debris and remnants of pigmented keratinocytes. Dermal inflammation is seen with edema, vasodilatation, and erythrocyte extravasation. And in B, you could see the yellow arrows. You could see the fragments of tubules of nematocyst. Yes, they could be seen. The nematocyst could be seen in the stratum corneum layer of the skin. You could see the yellow arrows that is in the stratum corneum layer of the skin. Now, this is the histopathology of the bruise. You could see the bleeding area here, right? It is filled with erythrocytes with expansion of fibrous septa. And here also in hypodermis, you could see fibrous septum with initial inflammation with granulocyte. This is HLD stain 20x, the left one is 10x, and this one, right one is 20x. So you could see erythrocytic infiltration and expansion of fibrous septa. Right here also, macrophages, they are filled with hemosiderin, a pigment, right, that is responsible for color changes in the bruise, as well as hematoidin granules between the erythrocytes in the bleeding area, right. It is with Pearl's Prussian blue stain, so you could see a different picture in case of bruise. Plus you would get a history. The sting by jellyfish, it causes a very, very, very agonal pain as compared to bruise, right? And in most of the cases, if it is a venomous one, it will take a longer time to heal. And person may almost, in most of the cases, they will have allergic or anaphylaxis like reaction, which is absent in case of injury, right? Though due to due to lysis of the blood cell, the person may have myonecrosis, may die of renal failure, right? Then jellyfish as a food, a few words regarding eating jellyfish. So the species consumed are cannonball jellyfish, right? Stomolophus, Meleagris, and jelly blubber. Catostylus, Mosacus are edible species of jellyfish, while Rhopilema esculentum and Rhopilema hispidum are edible jellyfishes and are most common ones consumed in China, Japan, and Korea. I don't understand why these people consume such things, but obviously it is a delicacy for them. So this is jellyfish. It is cooked with some oil, sesame oil and chili sauce. Means it may be a delicacy to some, but it may lead to allergic reactions. So this was a 26-year-old male who presented with allergic reaction, pruritus, dyspnea, sting mark-like appearance, hypotension, tachycardia after eating cooked salted jellyfish, right? And this patient had been stung twice by jellyfish half an year ago, right? So when he was examined, there were obvious sting-like marks and pigmentation around the allergic region on the right side of the trunk near the axilla, right? So this was the picture. You could see sting-like marks. Then promethazine, the treatment given was promethazine intramuscular injection, 250 ml normal saline, 10 milligram dexamethasone by drip, and 0.4 grams cimetidine by IV drip, and 500 ml normal saline rapid infusion, right? Because he was going into shock, and kept for observation in emergency department, and he started improving after 1 hour, and after keeping him in observation for 3 to 4 days, he was discharged with follow-up instructions given to him. So this was an allergic shock caused by ingestion of cooked jellyfish. What is its medico-legal aspect, right? So huge fight occurs at the seafood restaurant, battered jellyfish everywhere. So fishes, they are battered for cooking, and kids, they are battered for hooking, right? So because kids, they play at the sea beaches unsupervised at times, they are not supervised by parent, they can step upon the jellyfish, or they can pick up the jellyfish because it looks colorful, attractive, transparent, right? So the child may be stinged or battered by the jellyfish, right? And at times they may also suffer from battered baby syndrome. So we need to differentiate whether the baby is being stinged by the jellyfish, or it was being battered by his or her parents. So that is to be differentiated, particularly in case of children, because they do not express much, they do not speak much. In case of adults, it becomes easier, but malingering is one of the aspects, because since you have got stings of jellyfish which may look alike the beating marks, whip beating marks, or cable or flexible weapon beating mark, he may sue other person, that the particular person whom with he has got some enmity or some turmoil, that person has beaten me up, and now I want a compensation from that person, right? And the battered kids, those battered by the parents, they may be presented as jellyfish stings. So that is an important aspect. Now, I just found one autopsy report. I could not get much because all of the articles, they needed institutional access, and right now I did not have that. It will start shortly. So this is a case report from March 1928, published in American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, right? So a well-developed, very healthy young man who had a very good build, with only slight remaining evidences of leprosy, right? That was a treated case, was working waist deep, means he was standing waist deep in the water of a mangrove swamp, where he called out in distress to fellow workmen. He suddenly called his fellow workmen that something had bitten him, right? Then he quickly collapsed, breathing with difficulty, and died within a few minutes. He died very quickly. So when he was examined, no marks suggestive of snake bite could be found, nor any other abnormality except purplish livid markings, ascribable only to contact with a large, long tentacled jellyfish. There was no bite, snake bite mark, but tentacle-like purplish livid markings were seen. Right, his head was congested, then lungs were distended, though did not collapse, and they contain large amount of frothy serous material, right, that escaped from the alveolar capillaries. The right heart was full, right, organs congested, especially kidneys. They show parenchymatous injury and albuminous material in the glomerular capsules. The fatal outcome was too sudden. It was too sudden that it could be ascribed to poisoning alone. So definite evidence of status lymphaticus, means hyperplasia of lymphoid tissue, was found, and it is probably because of peculiar instability known to exist in this condition, means in jellyfish sting, that unquestionably severe shock of jellyfish sting induced sudden death, right? Because the one was, he could not find us, because he screamed to his fellow men that something has bitten him, something has stinged him, but no sting mark was found except the purplish markings, tentacle-like markings. His body was congested, he has pulmonary edema, right? Organs were congested, kidneys were damaged, and it was within minutes that he died, right? So this was severe shock of jellyfish sting induced sudden death. Now, how would you survive a box jellyfish sting, particularly the Australian box jellyfish? So as soon as you feel the sting, as soon as you feel when you are inside the water, means your feet hanging in the water, you are sitting by the side, or whether you are swimming in the shallow waters in summers or spring, immediately get out, because within minutes you will lose the ability. You could not move your legs and or hands where you have been stinged, and you will drown. So immediately get out. Pick off the tentacles if it's still on the body, right? If tentacles are there, remove it, but make sure not to touch it with bare hands, because that will lead to secondary stinging. Use thick gloves or thick piece of clothing or a thick towel. It's better to use tweezers if it is available in the first aid box or nearest first aid headquarters, which are usually situated in the coastal areas where box jellyfishes are found. Then rinse with vinegar if it is available, right? Do so generously, means continue pouring vinegar for 30 seconds at least, right? Get immediate medical attention after doing this. Immediately take the person to the hospital, or call somebody to, if you are stinged, call somebody to take you to the hospital, right? I bet you $10. Yeah, I can make that guy pee on his friend, right? This is just a joke, but this is against first aid principle of do no more harm. If you can't do good, don't do any harm, because urine is contaminated mostly with pathogenic bacteria. So it may lead to cellulitis and sepsis, wound sepsis, if it is put over the freshly injured part. So do not pee over the wound. It is a wrong concept or a myth that peeing over jellyfish thing will relieve pain or do something. In fact, it will further lead to cellulitis and chances of sepsis. So warm normal saline or vinegar, because warm water, right? Warm water, it will inactivate the venom and it will give you pain relief. And vinegar, it will help to stop the release of venom from the undischarged nematocyst. So these things will probably help. Now, this is a brochure that I got online. So box jellyfish sting, your stinger net can be used for swimming. In most of the places it is used. Then always use protective clothing, because if it does not comes in contact with your skin directly, it will not sting you, right? So wear a lycra suit, and if unavailable, long sleeved shirt and pants that cover your whole body surface. None of your body surface should come in contact with any marine creature, right? Always see the warning signs, right? Prepare a first aid kit, particularly if you are taking family with kids along with you, because that will help. It should have vinegar, right? It should have normal saline and tweezers, other things. And training courses are being conducted, right? How to rescue from toxic jellyfish sting. So take pains to take those training programs, right? Now, how will you give first aid? To make sure that rescuer is safe from toxic jellyfish, bring the injured out of the water. So it's better to swim with a partner. If you swim with the partner and if you are stinged, he or she may take you to the beach side and call for help also. So if the person is unconscious, not breathing, no pulse is there, then you have to pump the heart, right? You have to do a cardiac massage. You have to open the airway by lifting up the chin, pour vinegar over the sting site for 30 seconds, right? And continue pumping the heart, right? Until and unless you see the person reviving and getting back his pulses. And be sure that you should know how to do a cardiac massage, right? Don't be a pro at doing these things. You can take help, right? Guards are there and other people are there. So if you don't know how to do it, don't take any chances. If the person is conscious, just pour the vinegar and watch for 45 minutes. If he shows some signs of danger, like severe muscle pain in body, trunk, extremities, or seems restless or confused, agitated, have severe vomiting, sweating, or chills, may have palpitation, chest pain, or tightness of the chest, breathing difficulty, right? Or suddenly have a cyanosed or pale face, that immediately rush to the hospital, right? So that is how it has to be managed. So these are do's and don'ts. Always keep a lookout for jellyfish warning signs that may be posted at the beach. Keep looking around you when in water and try to swim with a partner, right? So can he or she may bring you to the beach side. Then to help prevent any jellyfish sting when swimming, wear a lycra suit. We have discussed this. Beware of seemingly jellyfish on the beach, seemingly deadly jellyfish. If they were recently beached, they can still sting. Even a dead one can sting you. Separated tentacle or a dead jellyfish can also sting you. Then do not run or dive in water quickly. Walk in slowly, right? That will avoid contact with the jellyfish in the shallow waters. Do not allow children to enter water without protective suit, and not to swim unsupervised. Parents should always supervise their kids, right? Do not swim where warning signs are there, right? And you have to locate the first aid center at the beach prior to swimming or bathing in the sea. Take the trouble to be educated in the fundamentals of rescue and resuscitation from a sting by box jellyfish. If you are so fond of going to Australia and Indo-Pacific region, then be prepared with this also. So this is, I don't think you are right now ready for this jelly, so beware, right? And do not invade my habitat, says the jellyfish, particularly the venomous ones. Trespassers strictly not allowed. Those who invade will be prosecuted, may even be executed if found guilty. So we can learn few things from jellyfish, few good things, not the bad ones. Even though spineless but not characterless, sting only being provoked. These humans are none of their business. If they sense you as a danger, they will sting you. Heartless and brainless, yet sensitive and transparent. Adapt itself to the changing environment to be fit to survive in adversity, means being flexible and flexible to change, right? Means be flexible so that you could survive in the adversities and bloom when the favorable season returns. So joyride with me ends here, says our jellyfish. So thank you all for patiently listening.